And we're on. This is the Great Classic Rock Debate. I'm Kenny,
I'm Paul with 0 qualifications.
And I'm Steve.
and we talk anything and everything classic rock. We try to have fun. We try to keep it interesting. If you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get started. Hey, guys, couple of pieces of, I guess I'll just call it housekeeping real quick here. First of all, I noticed this week that Blue Oyster Cult released a new album, okay? I don't know about you. Kind of caught me by surprise because I said I didn't even know they were still alive. So
Me neither.
okay, so here's what I want to do. I did one of those things where you've only got 2 minutes, so you play like 15 or 20 seconds of each song, and I was really underwhelmed. And maybe on a second or third listen I'll change my mind. I didn't think it really even sounded like Blue Oyster Cult, but I'm going to encourage you guys just to take a moment when you get a chance, and it's probably already on YouTube. Just listen to a little bit, and if there's anything noteworthy, we'll try to include that in a future episode. But based on what I heard, it was bland, I thought, and again, didn't really sound like Blue Oyster Cult, but
It's possible that there are no original members of the band still touring. Like, Thin Lizzy still tours. I don't. It's not
Right.
Thin Lizzy, but
right,
A
exactly.
lot of bands, as they get older, look at Led Zeppelin Into the Outdoor versus Led Zeppelin 1. It's a completely
Right.
yeah.
It's bands mellow out.
Yeah.
And that was only through over a course of 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they never stopped being rockers. They just took it into a different direction, though, which is one of the things I love about them so much. They didn't turn into balladeers.
Like I heard Steve, those Ugly Kid Joe, their first two bands were really, our first two albums are great. They released an album like 2 years ago after like 18 years, and it was like, it was like Bay City Rollers. It hit me. It's Bay City Rollers. Steve.
Wow.
I was
I
like,
know who they are.
That's bad. Yeah.
anyway, go ahead. So
Okay.
I think when bands get older.
Well, here's the other thing I wanted to open with. And not to beat a dead horse, I know you guys get tired of hearing me piss and moan and whine about how god-awful my local classic rock station is. But the reason this is worth mentioning is it's a corporate-owned station, which means what I'm hearing on this classic rock station is being played on classic rock stations all across the country. This is not a one-off, okay? So we sort of we discussed the whole idea of what is the minimum age a song should be before it is even up for discussion as qualifying for classic rock, right? We sort of threw out 15 or 20 years, and we didn't make a hard decision, but I can go either one of those. But let's just suppose it's 20 years, right? So this is 2024. So I went back to 2004, just sort of browsed through there, and it stopped me in my tracks because Velvet Revolver released their debut album in 2004, and that song, Fall to Pieces, that's as good as any classic rock song of the last 25 years. Okay, for me. And I can play that. It's a ballad, but it rocks, and it's awesome in so many ways, And although my classic rock station plays songs that are newer than that, because it plays a Green Day song from 2005, and it plays, I don't know if it's Three Doors Down, some other band that I heard from 2005, but they have never once played Fall to Pieces by Velvet Revolver, and that is as criminal as that is such an insult to the whole idea of what classic rock even is. And we've talked about how they're playing to their demographic. Well, that would be a part of, if you're trying to play to a 45-year-old crowd now instead of 63, fine. But Fall to Pieces would fall into that. And I've never heard this once on a classic rock station. Anyway, so if you guys have any feedback on that, please give it to me.
Well, did they play anything from Velvet Revolver?
I've not heard a single Velvet Revolver song.
I've never heard Velvet Revolver on radio, on a classic rock station.
Right.
Maybe
and when
Sirius XM.
When you consider the personnel, I mean, those guys are from Guns N' Roses and so on. That they are the walking, breathing definition of what a classic rock band is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, it's criminal. I don't
Ugh.
get it.
But like their next album, Libertad, that album is tremendous.
Okay.
Uh, and you're right. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. All right. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there. And it's, I mean, if they played songs off of that album, it would be huge. The listeners would love it, but I don't know. They don't care what
Well,
I think. Go
since
ahead.
you brought up Velvet Revolver,
Go ahead.
my wife got me able to go backstage and hang out with them and do a meet and greet and hang and talk. And Scott Weiland does not. He's like a xenophobic. Like he can't meet other people.
Okay.
The dude's like 5'1.5". He's a tiny little guy, and he would walk around like he almost reminded me of Igor from Young Frankenstein, where he was shunning. And so this woman said, "Well, how come they go, he doesn't sign things. He doesn't talk to people." Slash said that. Like, what? So I think I told the story before. About 12 minutes later, guess who walks in? Jerry Cantrell, Alice in Chains, who opens for them, and he's like, "What's up, MFers?" And he's high-fiving, hugging everybody. He don't even know who they are. He doesn't care. He's hugging everybody and like having selfies. And it was like, oh, this is a rock star,
Right.
Jerry Cantrell.
Right.
And it was just such a dichotomy of, and then
Yeah.
of course, as Steve and I both heard when the drummer for Velvet Revolver, Matt Sorum, was asked, think about this question, he was asked, who is the most difficult singer you ever worked with? He waited about 20 seconds and said, Scott Weiland. Yeah, I thought he was going to say Axl Rose. Nope.
Well, it was a toss-up.
All right, go
Wow.
ahead,
Well,
Kenny.
I mean,
Okay.
and Scott Weiland, it's past tense. I mean, he is no longer with us, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
he
that.
obviously had a lot of issues. So
A lot.
Definitely. Yeah. So, okay, well, listen, we're going to shift back to a sort of a continuation of what we were doing last week. So I don't know about you guys, but I was just scratching the surface of some of the songs that I had put down on my list. And I think I threw out the term sacred cows last week. So I think I'm going to have a few more sacred cows this week, but that's what makes it fun. So,
Right. Hey, let me go first.
Go ahead.
Okay, because I froze up last time. I couldn't think of anything. A song that when I first heard it the first 2 or 3 years, I hated this song, and when it came on, I turned it, and now if it's on, I'm paralyzed. Telephone Line by ELO.
Oh man,
that song has just got into my brain.
I always loved it.
I never did until like maybe I'm in my, I don't know, maybe college, and then I heard Linda Perry, Four Non Blondes. She covered it one night. She goes, whenever I hear the song on the radio, I start to cry. She was saying that, and she covered it, and I was like, wow, Linda Perry. Anyway.
I listen to that probably once a week. There's actually on Jeff Lynne's YouTube channel, ELO, he did a concert like in his house with him, and I can't remember Jeff. I'm going to screw up the name, but the piano player from ELO, and it's just the two of them in his house recording it, and they do a version of Telephone Line, and it's really good. Check it out on his YouTube page.
Well, Steve, last week you sort of emphasized that, at least to you, Jeff Lynne was somewhat of a genius, right? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah. Telephone Line was. I had already attached myself to. I liked them. I thought their songs were good, catchy, but that was the first one that kind of stopped me in my tracks, and I go, "Wow, he's incorporating so many different things here to create." It's not just what you're hearing; it's what you're visualizing. There's so much going on there. And yeah, by the time the song ends, you're so emotionally involved that it's you can't help but feel it inside. That's a really, really good song. So I got to agree with you, Paul, on that one.
I mean, but just imagine, I think all three of us have talked us, not to get the three of us, but like to be so far ahead of, like, remember, this guy wrote this song probably a year before he recorded it. I'm just making that up, but he's like, okay, this might work. Just like Metallica thought this might work, and it did. So I just want to give the guy kudos to having a set of testicles and being a genius too. So it's that
album, which is called New World Record.
Yeah,
and there are so many fantastic songs on that album, and I think that as a teenager, I didn't appreciate it the way I did as I was growing older. I'd go back and listen to it and go, well, I remember liking this album, but not this much. There were certain songs that I think I would skip over when I was younger that I wouldn't skip as I got a little older. It's a really, really good record, though.
All right, that was mine. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, okay. So here's what I'm going to go with. Let me set the stage. In 1970, I guess it would be right at the end of 76 is when the Eagles released Hotel California, okay? And it's not as if they weren't already superstars, but this sent them into a whole new stratosphere of superstardom, okay? I mean, I feel like from their debut, they had made consistently good, solid records. We've talked before about how their style kind of morphed. They started out more of the laid back West Coast country rock kind of sound. Yeah. And then got into a harder rock sound as they went along. And so by the time that Hotel California had made its run, that entire Eagles fan universe was salivating for the next record. Okay. I mean, I don't even know when the first rumor dropped, the Eagles have an album, but people were just asking and going in the record stores, is the new Eagle? And they're going, what? So anyway, there was so much hype surrounding the release. And, you know, I'm thinking Hotel California, Life in the Fast. I'm thinking of all these songs. And so when the first single dropped, which was Heartache Tonight, I don't know about, for me, I thought it was just an okay, like, it didn't suck. I didn't change the station, but my hopes were so high that this song was going to be a grand slam home run. And for me, it was more of a shrugger. Okay. So I went, wow, they've made, and I thought there were other songs on that album that were great. I really did. But for me, that one was a shrugger. Now, all of these years have gone by and I still shrug. I still think it's an okay song. You know, to me, it was subpar for the Eagles. They had set such a high bar for themselves. And I thought that thing was subpar. And to this day, if I make an Eagles top 10 list or whatever, it's not anywhere near there. Okay, go ahead and tell me how wrong I am.
Well, no. Let me jump in this because Steve's the Eagles expert. Okay. It's fascinating that you would say that. Well, how do you think you would react had you not heard Hotel California and you'd heard that song, just pretend like an alternate universe when that album came out before? That's not a bad song.
I would have liked it more. I would have liked it more because the bar would have been set lower. And I mean, it's a little bit catchy and it's got kind of a party vibe to it or whatever, you know, even though lyrics, Heartache Tonight, I don't know. But I don't know. They've won Grammys. They've written the most phenomenal, historic songs that you will still be singing to yourself 50 years from now. And that one, I just felt, I guess I've kind of made some of the same comments about Journey's album. I don't remember the name of the album. It was the one after Escape. Yeah, that one. I thought those songs were average, you know. So that's how I felt about Heartache Tonight. It was a shrug, and for me, to this day, it's still a shrug.
Well, as Paul knows, I love the Eagles. They're the greatest American rock band of all time.
Ouch.
And the Heartache Tonight, it's such a great song live, and I love Glenn Frey, and I miss him, and I wish he was still around. But yeah, to me, that song, I've never grown tired of it. I've loved it since the first time I've heard it, and it's awesome live. I wouldn't pay the money now to see the Eagles. That I think they're going on tour one more time.
Yeah, but one more time.
Yeah, without Glenn Frey in the band, it's it's hard for me to justify to pay those prices.
I always liked Glenn Frey, and I thought he wrote and sang some great songs with the Eagles, and probably didn't get as much credit as he should have, even though it's not like he was just some schlub who nobody remembers. But for that one song, it didn't work for me. But I thought Lying Eyes and some of the other ones. I also liked his solo material, even though there's been a lot of mixed reviews on that. But I thought his solo material was good too. So
Lying Eyes is on that album?
Lying Eyes was on an earlier album.
No, yeah, that was off.
Yeah. And let me just make this quick little note about Lying Eyes. Couple of things. Number one, on the radio, they played an edited version that leaves out the entire middle verse. So the song has a completely different, the lyrical communication is so different without that middle verse, number one. And number two, there's such an irony Okay, with the time that they wrote and sang that song, they were young guys, okay? The song is about a young girl, young woman. I'm not gonna say young girl, a young woman, say just 21 or 22, it doesn't matter, who's involved with a much older man. I'm just gonna guess he's in his 50s, and maybe he's in his 40s, maybe he's in his 60s. She's involved with a much older man who buys her anything she wants. It's a sugar daddy type of relationship, okay? But she sneaks away to see the guy she really loves, who's a young guy. And because the Eagles are young guys, the young guy in the song represents them. You know, and they kind of speak disparagingly of the old guy. I forget the exact lyrics, but he's just a tired old man or something like that. But they speak of him in a way that makes him the villain of the song. Okay. But as you know, we all get older. So when they become the old guys, I wonder if it becomes less enjoyable singing that song when you're no longer the young guy who she's sneaking away to be with. So anyway, just some of my thoughts on that song, which I love.
I always thought the woman was the villain in the song.
As they are.
And
okay.
And Bob Seger was the older guy.
But I think that's a good one. I think they make the woman out to be a pseudo victim. Of course, she's doing it by choice, but she's in a relationship that she doesn't really want to be in, and she's not in love with the guy, but she is sort of his possession, and he bribes her, you know, to keep her around. I feel like that's the vibe I get from the song. And then the only way she can find happiness is to sneak away to be with the young guy. He's the hero, and she's the victim, and the old guy is the villain. Anyway, that's my take on it. So
it's a haunting song. It's a haunting.
Yeah,
song.
I love this. I love that song. Never get tired.
And now every ex-rocker, or every guy who's in their 60s and 70s who is a rock star is now the old guy in that song.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, the tired old man.
When I wrote that song, I didn't know what I was talking about 40 years ago.
Right, right. Just switch the ages around. Okay, Steve, what do you got for us?
All right. So I hated this song for about the first year when it first came out. And one day it just clicked with me. And it wasn't just this song, but it was their entire record. And it's Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses.
Wow.
And Sweet Child of Mine, I think, was probably the first song. That and
Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle came out 1 and 2.
Right about the same time.
It was in a Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, the Deadpool.
Deadpool, yep.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
But I remember hearing Sweet Child of Mine for the first time, and I hated it, and everybody loved it.
Really?
I didn't get it. I was probably in the 5th grade when that clicked, or when it debuted, and it wasn't until about a year later it just dawned on me. I was like, all right, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I heard Welcome to the Jungle next, and I just couldn't stand Axl's his cadence and his tone and the way he sang. And I was wrong, obviously. And that's one of the greatest records of all time.
Yeah, it really is. Paul, I don't know if you remember, and I assume that you don't, but you sort of prepped me. Like, you told me weeks in advance, there's this new band coming out of Southern Cali, and they're called Guns N' Roses, and they are going to set the rock universe on fire. They are amazing. And Steve, I've heard him kind of say similar things before that didn't play out to be that way. So I listened with a little skepticism, but when I heard it, I'm like, okay, he was right. He was so right.
Like, did I tell you the stories? I think I bought this this CD at Peaches.
Yeah.
So I was wearing my work clothes, a tie and a business shirt. And I walk up to the counter because my friend had made me listen to it, but it was he had copied it from a copy. It wasn't very good quality. So I bought the CD, and I walk up, and the counter's up high at Peaches on Okeechobee. I remember that, Kenny. And the girl's like this. She goes, oh my God. She's rubbing herself. Oh my God. And I just went, what? She goes, this is the greatest album ever made. The other girl's like, yeah. And they were like, I thought they were like climaxing. The one girl was visibly touching her own breasts.
Wow.
And I was like, what in the world? And I'm like,
You were like, I'm looking for a Jimmy Buffett CD.
Right.
and so I got it. And I had just gotten a CD player in my car, and I put. I'm like, oh wow, this sounds really good off of a CD because I haven't heard it off of a cassette of a cassette.
Okay.
And I was
Yeah.
like, and within a week, and then I started seeing that girl. I'm not gonna say her name, and she used to go out with Steven Adler, the drummer. She lived in California, and she wouldn't shut up about him. And I got the CD, and it was like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah. I liked it pretty much from the get-go, and it has lost nothing for me.
I
you know?
agree.
Yeah.
You know, Steve, I understand what you're saying about "Sweet Child of Mine." You're like if that would have been their only hit, and the other stuff was like really wimpy, like like Bon Jovi garbage, then I said, "Oh, they're not very good."
No, I was wrong.
No. I'm not ripping on you. I could see like
I've been wrong before. For years, I made fun of Star Trek with William Shatner. And then I saw
Oh, wow.
and I was like, okay, I've been wrong like for 20 years.
I rode you like a cheap horse about Shatner.
And the same with Dio and Black Sabbath. I
Yep.
refused to listen to Dio and Black Sabbath, or Dio with Black Sabbath.
And I rode you for 20 years.
And finally I listened to it and I was like, damn, I've been missing out for a long time.
And Steve, for 10 years, Steve says, buy this Power Man 5000. I don't know. Buy it. He's like, you idiot. Listen to it. And I'm like, okay, I was wrong. Steve was right. Power Man, I was like, I worship that album.
Okay.
Anyway, go
All right,
ahead, Kenny.
Paul, you're up. Yes.
I'm trying to think of what other songs. I'll delay to you. You go.
Okay, I'll go.
Uh,
All right. So again, I got to set the stage. I was in 6th grade. So this would have been like 71. Okay. And okay, as you guys know, we see the world through a completely different lens and all that. And this song, it's a rock song. It was being played. There was no MTV or anything. It was just radio back in those. AM radio is all we had back in those. It was being played so much. Every time you got in the car, whether it was your parents' car or your friend's parents' car, it doesn't matter. You always heard it. And everybody sang along, especially because of the opening line, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Okay. So that's right. Three Dog Night, Joy to the World. So as a kid, I loved that song, as did all my friends, peers, everybody. If it came on the radio, we turned it up. We all sang along and all that. Okay. As an adult now, oh my God, it is so cringeworthy. It really is. I mean,
Why?
because for me, it had its place in time. All right. That song needs to be left in 1971. In 1971, it works. It doesn't work at all for me now. I can't stand it. I hate it. And I, even as a DJ, occasionally people would request it, and I would do my best to put it off until the very end to play it. So that's how much I really hate that song. But anyway, that's my take.
I love
on
that
it.
song. So now here's
Okay.
trivia without
Okay.
cheating.
Go ahead.
Who originally wrote the song Joy to the World? I believe it's classical Handel. A classical musician wrote that song.
Huh.
Like in the
Well, yeah, the Three Dog Night version though, it's not
it's their
it's not the
version.
Christmas version. I've never really.
No, it's not Christmas. It's just the joy to, and that's the melody. That's what or the chorus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if they're playing that version, yeah, it's I've never really listened to the Three Dog Night version, so I saw the title of the song, and I laughed. I just assumed it had nothing to do with like the Christmas version.
I thought it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
When you say Christmas, I mean there's Christmas, there's Christian. The Joy of the World is a Christian song, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
well,
it's
if
a-
you buy
it's
like
a
a
Christmas
Christmas
song.
like Christmas music CD, it's on a lot of them. So
yeah. But
Okay.
that's a different song though.
You're right.
Okay, let's
I
debate
think
that
it
some
was
other
Handel
time.
that wrote the
Okay.
original "Joy to the World." Like
I think
400
so.
years ago.
The Christmas Carol, the Christmas hymn.
Joy to the world.
The
Yeah.
Lord is come.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Anyway, we'll argue about it some other time. All right. So who's up? Steve, you're up.
Steve,
Paul,
go
you
ahead.
want to go
Yeah.
or
I
No,
got
Steve,
one.
go.
The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. I used to hate it.
oh my God.
the longest time.
Same. I put that on my list. I thought that song doesn't fit. Like Fleetwood Mac has their thing, and then
Yep.
somehow over here in left field is this song, The Chain. And I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Does it fit? But Buddy, as I got older, and I'm going to say probably in the last 10 years, it
Same for
almost
me.
feels like classic rock radio has picked it up, played it more, and I hear it more now. And I go, oh my God, how did I not see this? This is a great song, and it's a rock song, which is not taking a slight at any of their other material, but a lot of their songs are pop rock kind of songs, and this one's not. This was an actual rocker.
Yeah, I would always within the first like 3 seconds, whenever it came on the radio, click, go
Yep.
to the next
Yeah.
next
Yep.
station. But really, over the last 10 years, I'm like, okay, I've been missing out
Yep,
for my entire life. on
totally
that.
agree.
I've been downloading the last, I think I told you guys about a year ago, the Fleet Mac and the song that You Make Loving Fun with Chrissy McVie. That song is just genius.
It is.
It is brutally genius. That's all I
Yeah.
can say.
I agree.
It's
But that song is more representative. You make like it's more representative of their 70s material. And The Chain is not, and also, you know what else is not? I also have on my list, I'll just say it now, Tusk.
Mhm.
oh
Yeah. A song that I was so turned off by originally. I'm like, what were
too.
they thinking? I love that song now. I love that song. It's a
Yeah.
rocker. I love it. And I even heard Lindsey Buckingham say in an interview, he said, people were expecting Rumors Part 2, but we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to be predictable. We all are a creative force, and we each had our own direction that we wanted to take things. So the different songs represent different elements of that. And the more I hear it nowadays, the more I go, that is a work of genius. I really like it, but boy, I didn't way back when.
Speaking of
Okay.
Lindsey Buckingham, do you remember this song "Trouble" from the early
Oh my
80s?
God, yes.
So that's another one that I did not like when I was a kid, but over the
Really?
last probably 3 or 4 years, I've really enjoyed it. But if you watch the video, it is like so cringeworthy and indicative of like an early 80s
80s, yeah.
music
Yeah.
video. It's pretty funny.
I'm not sure I even never saw the video, but the
Oh,
song
he's
I,
probably
like-
better
I
off.
like. Hey guys,
He's like
just
half
just
naked. It's pretty
oh,
funny.
okay. Just a quick mention. We got our warning, so we don't want to go too long like we did last week. So just keep an eye on the clock. All right,
All right, so-
Paul.
Okay, this is a whole album, and talk about changing direction is Led Zeppelin 3. So you have Led Zeppelin 1, heavy blues. Led Zeppelin 2, hard rock blues, maybe the beginnings of metal. And then you have Led Zeppelin 3, and it's got a bunch of, guitar songs on it. But I'm telling you what, that album is growing on me even more as the older I get. And again, you go back to Genius and Testicles. Led Zeppelin's like, we're not going to do that, Heartbreaker, Whole Lot of Love. We're going to make this Since I've Been Loving You, this long blues song, and, Out on the Tiles. And my favorite Zeppelin song, I think we talked about, is Celebration Day, I think. I like that version and the live version. It's just like I can't explain. And then Gallows Pole, I was listening to that song yesterday, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
He's asking his sister to sleep with the hangman so he doesn't get killed. Like, all right, that's mine. Go ahead and talk about it or move on.
Well, I'll just add this again. I mean, I said it earlier, but I'll reiterate it, and that is one of the many things I really love about Led Zeppelin. They made great music. They were so immensely talented, but they constantly shifted directions, never becoming predictable and always being, at least to some degree, experimental, trying out new things and trying a new sound so that they didn't become just the same old
Derivative, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Steve?
Just a couple of things. Since I've Been Loving You is probably my favorite Zeppelin song. If I had to pick one to listen to
Okay, good choice.
for the rest of my life. Also, I hear that I had the experience of discovering Led Zeppelin, the entire catalog, all at once. So going back, I could see how somebody may have been put off by like the third record after the first two. records. But if you think about it, though, it kicks off with Immigrant Song, and that's
Right.
probably one of their hardest and heaviest
Yep.
songs. And then the rest of it, it does kind of take a different direction.
Good
with
point, Steve.
Yeah.
acoustic. So, but I just, it's just different. My experience discovering Zeppelin was different than your guys'.
Right.
I experienced it all at once, and
Right.
so it was, I didn't get the difference between the albums at that time. So,
Yeah, if you go back and read, like I remember, let's see, I heard them kind of those four, and in my lifetime is when I think when my rock music lifetime is when what Presence and then Into the Outdoor came. So I read like every Zeppelin magazine and book there was at that point, and all these people were like, "This album is garbage. I'm never listening to Zeppelin again." They're burning their Zeppelin stuff, and then what do they do after that? They come back with Led Zeppelin 4, right? So it's like
Right. Over the Hills and Far Away and Jamaica. I mean,
oh, no, that's 5.
because Hot Dog was going to be on my
fair
list
enough.
House
Okay.
of Holy.
right.
as a song that's the only Zeppelin song that I never liked, and probably over the last 10 years, I love that song.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I'm totally with you. Yeah.
Page is shredding.
Okay, so listen, I'm going to make one last entry here, and then we're going to wrap it up for the night. So this is another one. It's a Sacred Cow. So we're going to go to the tail end of 1978. Okay, now 1 year before, Queen had released their album that had both "We Will Rock You" and "We Are
News
the
of the
Champions."
World.
News of the World. And sold millions and became a staple on rock radio and probably remains there to this day on classic rock. So a year later, right at the end of 78, they released an album called Jazz, an odd name for a Queen album, I suppose. And the two singles that were released kind of simultaneously were Bicycle Race and Fat Bottom Girls. Okay. Now, in my head, Queen is "We Will Rock You," right? And I'm hearing bicycle, bicycle. And I'm going, they've lost their minds. They've lost their freaking minds. What the hell is this about? Fat Bottom Girls, what? So I just felt like, okay, maybe this is just their way of saying to the whole rock world that they're F you if you think that we were going to do another "We Will Rock You." We're doing something different. And I didn't like it. I didn't get it. I can't explain how weird it sounded to me. Bicycle. But let me tell you how time can change perceptions, because those songs are fantastic. Both of them, and I think we've plugged the movie before, Bohemian Rhapsody. We all loved it. It was great. And it's seeing the timeline and the chronology of the band and of their music. It makes you appreciate them even more. But when I hear those songs now, I love them, and they are works of pure genius. So anyway, but I didn't like them at first. So go ahead.
You made me think of a South Park episode when they're making a show at their own elementary school, and they get a couple of things, and they get really good, and then the guy goes, "Okay, we're gonna pick you up for the 3-year deal, so you got to make a show every week." And they go in this room, and they have no idea. So they start taking cough syrup to have hallucinations.
Okay.
So then Cartman writes down, "Okay, I got it." When they're sober, he goes, "Squiggly line, circle, plus sign." That's what he wrote down. He thought that was the greatest idea. So what the one of them says, you know what? Coming up with ideas is hard. It's hard. Like Queen,
Yes.
think about it. They the music fairy come down and shoot them and shoot a dart, dart in their head and say,
Right.
well, so it's hard to make albums. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's my point there.
Yeah,
Steve?
no, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I when I first heard both of those songs, I did not like them.
Yeah.
But especially Fat Bottom Girls, that's one of my top, probably 3 Queen songs of
Yeah.
all time. So yeah,
Yeah.
agree 100%.
Yeah. At the time, they didn't go over well. And listen, at that time, all of my friends were all into Queen, and everybody said the same thing. Like, what were they thinking? What in the hell? They didn't expect people to buy this, did they? And those songs did not. Those songs, for the record, did not do well on radio. They didn't do well on charts. It is the years that have given them their value, because they're great songs now, but at the time, it just didn't go over that way. Okay, we need to go ahead and wrap it up. So if you've got any final thoughts, give them to us now.
Steve, go ahead.
I would just want to encourage everybody to check out this band called Evanescence. Evanescence. I think it's one of Paul's favorites.
Oh my God, I'm gonna kill you, Steve.
Just kidding. Yeah,
Okay.
don't check them out. I got nothing else to add.
Okay.
Uh,
Anything, Paul?
I'm watching the movie The Last Voyage of the Demeter. It's about that,
Demeter.
and it looks good. I've seen about 40 minutes of today. I'm liking it. That's my contribution.
Okay. All right. I don't have any recommendations this week for our growing classic rock playlist, but we'll have some next time. Okay. So for now, that's going to be it. This is the Great Classic Rock Debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Until we meet again, we will see you next time.